All right, so today we're going to take a journey that starts with the very first Ramadan and goes all the way to some pretty dramatic prophecies about its end. We're talking about its tough beginnings, the deep spiritual reasons behind it, and what some sources say about its final chapter. So let's get right into it. Okay, so picture this. We're in Medina way back in the year 2 Hijri. You've got this small, new community. They don't have much, and it is blazing hot outside. And then a new command comes down. You're going to fast for an entire month. I mean, this wasn't just some spiritual test. It was a huge physical challenge. And get this, it was the same month they had to fight the historic Battle of Badr. Talk about tough beginnings. This is where the story of Ramadan starts. So you gotta ask, how did this whole thing even begin? We're gonna dig into the history of the fast. And you might be surprised to find out that the rules at the very start were, well, a lot tougher than they are today. You know, the name Ramadan itself tells you a lot. It comes from an Arabic root word that means something like intense, burning heat. And yeah, part of that was literal. It often fell during the hottest time of the year. But the spiritual meaning? That's even deeper. The idea is that this is the month that's meant to literally burn away a person's sins. But here's the thing. The fast we know today isn't how it started. At first, the rules were way, way harsher. Get this, if you broke your fast at sunset but then fell asleep before you had a chance to eat, too bad. You had to keep fasting all the way until the next sunset. Can you imagine? There's actually a story about one of the companions, a man named g5g Surma, who did exactly that and ended up fainting from sheer exhaustion. It just shows how incredibly difficult this was for the early community. So, seeing this incredible hardship, a new revelation came down that brought some much-needed ease. This verse from the Quran laid out the rules we follow today. You fast from dawn to sunset, and the whole night is open for eating and drinking. And this was huge because it introduced the idea of the pre-dawn meal, or suhoor, which makes the fast so much more manageable for everyone. Okay, so we've covered the how of the fast, but what about the why? What's the deeper purpose here? Now we're going to get into the real spirit of fasting, the reason behind this months-long devotion and the unique rewards that come with it. The way rewards work in Ramadan is, well, it's pretty extraordinary. According to the source, during this 1 month, the reward for doing something you're supposed to do, an obligatory act, gets multiplied by 70, and even doing something extra, a good deed you choose to do, gets bumped up to the level of an obligatory one. It's like a month of incredible spiritual returns on investment. But it's not just about racking up points for good deeds. Fasting is special. There's this incredibly powerful divine statement from the source that says, "Fasting is for me and I myself am its reward." Think about that. It's not just about earning a place in paradise. It's suggesting the prize is something bigger. There's actually a great little parable that helps explain what this means. So, the story goes like this. Imagine a king. He gathers all his ministers and leads them into a room just overflowing with gold, with jewels, with treasure. And he tells them, "Take whatever you want." So naturally, everyone starts scrambling, scooping up all the treasure they can carry. But one minister, he doesn't touch a thing. He just walks right past all the gold and jewels, and when the king leaves the room, he simply follows him out. The king is, of course, a bit confused and asks him why he didn't take any treasure. And the minister's reply is just perfect. He says, "I want the king, because whoever has the king has everything." And that is the spirit of the fast. See, other good deeds might have heavenly rewards, like jewels and gold, but the reward for fasting is God himself, the one who owns all the treasure. So the question is, how do you pursue that ultimate spiritual prize? Well, the month of Ramadan is actually built around a few key acts of worship. You can think of them as the pillars that hold up the whole experience. First, of course, you've got the fast itself, which is seen as a shield that protects you from sin. Then you have Taraweeh. These are special nightly prayers for forgiveness. As the month goes on, things get even more intense, especially in the last 10 nights. That's when people are searching for Laylatul Qadr, the night of power. And some even do what's called itikaf, which is a kind of spiritual retreat in the mosque. And finding that one night Laylatul Qadr is a really big deal. I mean, the source says that worship on this single night is better than worshiping for 1,000 months. Do the math, that's more than 83 years of devotion packed into the power of one single night. It's just immense. Okay, so we've talked about the history and the spirit of Ramadan, but now our source material takes a pretty dramatic turn. We're about to dive into some prophecies about the very last Ramadan before the end of time. I mean, think about it. These traditions and practices we've been talking about have been going on for over 1,400 years. But what happens when it all comes to its prophesied end? What about that final Ramadan? According to the prophecies described in our source, this final Ramadan is going to be marked by some unmistakable, frankly terrifying signs. It says that in the middle of the month, on a Friday night, this deafening, terrifying sound will come from the sky. And in that same month, there will be both a solar and a lunar eclipse. And then, just 1 year later, that's when the Day of Judgment is said to begin. And the details of this event are just incredibly vivid. The prophecy says this sound from the sky will be so powerful, so loud, that it will cause 70,000 people to faint, another 70,000 to go deaf, and another 70,000 to go blind. And this is just the beginning. It's said to kick off a year filled with constant earthquakes and widespread conflict and bloodshed. But right in the middle of all this prophesied chaos, the source offers some very specific advice for how to stay safe. It says believers should stay inside their homes, cover themselves, block their ears, and as soon as they hear that sound, they should fall into prostration and repeat a specific prayer for protection. Glory be to the Holy One, our Holy Lord. And really, this brings the whole thing full circle. It brings us back to the central message. Whether we're talking about the very first Ramadan or the prophesied last one, the source is emphasizing the exact same core idea. This life we're living, it's not the final destination. It's the training ground. It's the place of preparation for whatever comes next. So when you look at it that way, Ramadan, with its discipline, its focus on spiritual rewards, and yeah, even its dramatic warnings about the end, it's really just this annual, intense reminder of that journey. The source material frames our entire life as a preparation, and that leaves all of us with a pretty vital question to think about. If this life is a journey of preparation, what exactly is our final destination?